Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the Engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.
My name is Clay Newcomb, and I'm the host of the Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I'll also be your host into the world of hunting the icon of North American wilderness, the bear. We'll talk about tactics, gear, conservation, but we'll also bring you into some of the wildest country on the planet, chasing bear.
Thanks for checking out the podcast this week. We want to draw your attention to our friends at W Hunting Supply. If you check out DU Hunting Supply this week, they're having a sale on their Garmin Astro Alpha long-range magnet mount brown antenna. Now, that was a mouthful.
Yeah,
do you know what that does,
thing?
Colby?
Well, I haven't hound hunted in a while, so I'm pretty sure the technology is advanced.
So what that is that adds an extension to your Garmin Alpha handheld unit so that you can pick up your dogs further away. So go check that out. That's on sale this week. And you also find all kind of stuff from our friends at W. Also, check out our buddies at Northwoods Bear Products. We're getting into the winter. Bear baiting is dying down, but be thinking about them for your spring bear baiting. Also be thinking about them for the commercial scents. A lot of people are using this stuff for trapping.
Oh, really?
Trapping coons. So there's other things that you can do other than bear with these scents. So check out our buddies at northwoodsbearproducts.net. Also, check out our good buddies at the Western Bear Foundation. Yep. We were just out west, Colby, just last week.
Yeah.
You were too.
Yeah, I was too.
You were in Utah.
Yeah.
I was in New Mexico. And lots of bear issues out there. Western Bear Foundation, hunting conservation organization, giving a voice for bear hunters out in a pretty hostile environment. I say that every week, but it's true. That's what I think of when I think of those guys.
Yeah.
Check out our buddies at the Western Bear Foundation. And hey, go ahead and do us a favor. Right here at Bear Hunting Magazine, check out bear-hunting.com. We've got a full line of custom apparel and going to have some stinking cool hats, new hats coming out real soon. Check those out. You can pre-order them now.
Yeah.
We're calling the Flashy Hat Series.
Yeah.
So they say, one of them says Flashy Mule, one of them says Bear Grease, one of them says Bear Dogs. And
Up your level of cool
yes.
with the Flashy series
yes.
of Bear Hunting Magazine.
Yeah, we should put that on the website.
Yeah, we should.
Hey, check out bear-hunting.com. Subscribe or renew to Bear Hunting Magazine there. All right, on to the podcast. So, Colby.
Yes.
You just got back from Utah.
I did.
You got back last Thursday?
I think it was last Saturday.
Last Saturday.
Yeah.
Mule deer hunting with your family.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty beautiful up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, I know the story here, but
yeah,
you brought home some meat from Utah.
I did. The last day I was like, I'm bringing meat home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you killed a deer.
I did.
Tell us.
The rack just didn't matter in the end. I was like, I need some food. This freezer is empty.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we hunted hard for 5-6 days. And then the last day, it was like, we're whatever is legal. I'm pulling home.
Yeah,
I didn't come here for nothing. Tag soup doesn't sound good to me.
That's right. So you got a young buck, tender one.
I
up
did.
in Utah. So your whole family, y'all put in together and drew this tag.
Yeah, we had.
How many of you went up there?
Well, there were 5 of us up there, and 4 of us had tags.
Okay.
And we tagged out, which is pretty incredible.
Really,
everybody,
all 4 people killed deer.
I was the last one to tag out.
Your mom killed a deer?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Mom got a pretty decent 2x2.
Nice.
We had one 4x4. Yeah, Dad had a smaller 2x2.
Yeah.
So yeah, but it seemed like a good representation for what we were seeing in the area.
Yeah, we weren't seeing any real big deer.
No. The 4x4 was the only really good deer that we saw, and we went in after him for, over a mile to see if we could get him, and we ended up pulling him out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Well, it was snowing and cold. Y'all were camping in a wall tent?
Yeah, we had 2 wall tents, one that we were staying in and another one that we were keeping our gear in. And then it was my first time hunting in snow. I mean, it's different. It's different hunting in snow.
Always cold.
Yeah, it was cold. It was pretty cool though. And then you snow up to your shin, and it makes it harder to walk up the mountain when there's snow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it was really
cool, man. Well, that's awesome. We are. I'm just getting back from New Mexico.
Yeah.
I have not slept.
Yeah.
Except on the side of the road at a rest stop. Me and Brent Reeves stopped for a couple hours and slept last night.
And let the mules out.
So I'm foreshadowing what's going to be coming, but we just got back from New Mexico.
Yeah.
And but that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I want to talk about bear hunting in the big woods of the southeast, or we're talking about Arkansas, but really it's the southeastern section of the eastern deciduous forest. If we're talking about the macro perspective of what we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about my Arkansas bear hunt.
Yeah.
From October the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And this hunt, to me, of all the hunting that I do, this is the most special hunt that I do.
Yeah.
It really is, on a very personal level. This is for me, on my personal chart of what has a lot of value. Now, that's not entirely true. Like, hunting with other people has a lot of value. Like Rivers Hunt, like that had a lot of value, but it was different, in a different column. And I enjoyed all the stuff with River, but just on like a solo level, this hunt to me has been the hardest hunt that I've done. And it also means a lot to me just because I'm from here.
Yeah.
There's something to be said for just valuing something simply because that's what you grew up doing.
Yeah.
And and I didn't grow up bear hunting like this, but those mountains mean so much to me. That has value that may not have value to anybody else.
Yeah.
I mean, people aren't coming from all over the country down here to hunt, because it's just a different kind of hunt. It's not big, majestic, huge mountains, even though there are big mountains. They're cool mountains. But there's a lot of value added to something just because usually we have the prerogative to add value where we see fit.
Yeah.
And so this hunt was significant for me. Where to start? Colby?
Well, maybe your background with the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first, let me start off by saying what we're calling this thing, Sheep Hunt of the South.
Yeah.
And that's the video's name. We're releasing a video, probably will be out even before this podcast. And if you hadn't seen it, you'll see it sometime quick on the Bear Hunting Magazine YouTube channel. And it's a video we call Sheep Hunt of the South.
Yeah.
I started calling it that, and it's not the perfect analogy, but I was thinking about just the low success rate of this style of hunting, and kind of thinking that, sheep hunting is low success.
Yeah.
I was thinking about mountains, and, sheep are only in the mountains. Well, our bears are pretty much in the mountains. There's the other connection. The next connection being that it's just a coveted trophy in my eyes, this bear. And, the sheep in the last 20 years has just become kind of the pinnacle of big game hunting in North America.
Pretty iconic.
In a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And so that's why, kind of tongue in cheek, it's like, well, this is the sheep hunt of the South. But the only thing that would make this different than the sheep hunt is there's probably lower success rates on killing bear in the mountains like this than there are guys that are actually drawing sheep tags. But the limiting factor with sheep is that you just don't draw tags, and it's a kind of a rich man's sport.
Yeah.
And that you got to have big money if you're going on a guided sheep hunt.
And good glass.
Good glass. Got to have good glass. No glassing in Arkansas for bears.
Nope. You can use the chew that God gave you.
Yeah, that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. No, so several years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, I decided that I wanted to kill a bear in national forest without the use of bait or hounds. So in Arkansas, we cannot use bait or hounds in national forest. Can't use hounds anywhere, but we can bait on private land. So we have these big blocks of national forest. I think we've got a couple million acres of national forest in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And most of that national forest is home to a good population of black bear. But a good population of black bear is not really a ton of animals when it comes to going out in the woods and thinking you're going to see one.
Yeah.
If I could say it that way. They're a low density animal.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times, but like a high density of whitetails would be like 50 deer per square mile.
Yeah.
Which is not that uncommon of a number for whitetail hunting. You drive down the road, you see whitetails. You drive through farm country, you see whitetails. Well, a good population of black bears is about 1 bear per square mile.
Yeah.
If you're in a place with 1 bear per square mile, it's a decent population of bears. There's just not as many of them.
Yeah.
And
that's probably more of an average than a hard rule, right?
Exactly.
You're not going to go out there and grid and find like 1 bear per square mile. There might be like 3 in a more concentrated area.
Exactly. Exactly. That's just the way biologists would take a land mass and then the total population. But at any given time, there might be multiple bears in that square mile.
Yeah.
And the next square mile next to it might not have any.
Yeah.
And that's kind of an exaggeration too. But so I set out to kill a bear in national forest, and I think it took me 4 years before I finally killed this bear that's right behind you.
Yeah.
That we call rock slide.
Yeah.
Because I killed him in a rock slide. I killed him on the last day of season in 2013. Our season here goes till November the 30th. And I killed rock slide on November the 30th.
Yeah.
And basically just was slip hunting that day and found some hot bear sign, just fresh bear scat.
Yeah.
And set up in a little gap. The wind changed. Wasn't favorable for me to sit there anymore, so I started walking into the wind. Saw the bear before he saw me. He was actually laying down.
Yeah.
And was able to slip in and killed rock slide with a muzzleloader on the last day of season in 2013.
And that was saga began.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my first time that like this is actually a doable hunt. Up until that point, I really wasn't sure. I knew you might bump into one, but I had no idea whether you could consistently kill bears in this area, just consistently kill them with some level of predictability.
Yeah. How much effort did you put in that year?
Well, I wrote an article called, I think I called it 33 miles, because I had been keeping track of that year how far I had walked looking for bear sign and stuff. And I think I had calculated I walked 33 miles in the mountains.
Yeah.
And all that time saw very little. But a lot of my tactics have changed since then. I used to hunt bears in the later part of the season because I felt like that's when you would have a better chance at killing them because you could see better. That was my thought. About
leaves are falling.
Yeah, about mid-October or November around here, the leaves fall. And a black bear stands out like a sore thumb when there's no leaves. They really do.
Yeah.
So that was my thought for hunting late November. But now I would much rather hunt the early season.
Yeah.
When it's hot. It doesn't even make rational sense, but...
Yeah. What have you noticed about that that's better?
Well, the bears are just a lot more active.
Yeah.
By the end of November, the bears are honing down their home ranges dramatically. Like this bear, I believe he was probably staying in a 400 square yard area based upon the sign that I saw. I mean, he was close to denning, you know.
Yeah.
And so early season, September, early October, these bears are moving around a lot more. They're active, much more active, and they're leaving a whole lot of sign, and you can find them on acorns.
Yeah.
By late November, a lot of times all the acorns are gone, and it's hard to just pinpoint exactly what these bears are feeding on.
Yeah. It kind of sounds like you're playing a game of outdoor battleship with
Yeah.
the bears. It's like, let me check this area, and then let me check this area. And
Yep.
once you like strike something, it's like, ooh, I'm getting close.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a good analogy, because you go check something and there's no sign there, there's nothing there, and it's just like no bueno. You know, like deer, you could almost always predict when there was going to be deer in a certain area.
Yeah.
Like there's always going to be some deer sign there or some deer using it. Maybe hotter at different times, but with bear, it's really hit and miss.
Yeah.
There may not be a bear in that whole section of woods, I mean, at all.
Yeah.
And then, you know, but somewhere there is a bear, and you just got to find it, you know.
Yeah.
So, and keep asking me questions like
Yeah,
you're doing.
yeah.
That's good. I'm just trying to set the stage for this hunt, because this hunt was beautiful in
Yeah.
that it was short, sweet, to the point,
Yeah.
because it happened quick, but it wasn't. I mean, luck was involved, but it
Yeah.
wasn't just luck.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to, you know, because when we start telling the story, it's not going to last very long.
Yeah. So maybe we can draw another similarity to sheep hunt. Good boots.
Good boots.
Good
Yeah.
boots essential for a deciduous forest bear hunt on
Yep.
public land.
Yep. Yep. You got to have you got to cover some ground. I think that's the
Yeah.
point. There is you really got to cover ground and find where these bears are at.
Yeah. I feel like that's even something that we learned whenever we were doing the spring bear hunt in Montana, where we just had to just really cover some ground
Yeah.
and see what we see.
Yeah.
Well, but in that we were looking more for seeing a bear with our eyes. In this, it's more looking for signs. So what kind of signs did you find this time, or in the past?
Yeah. So this hunt took place on October the 3rd, which I would still consider early season. Man, I'm 100% looking for bear scat.
Yeah.
I mean, you can find the sign of bear all over these mountains with rolled rocks, logs, and we've talked extensively about that in other podcasts.
Yeah.
But man, I'm looking for fresh bear scat. That's what I'm looking for. And that's what I found to tell a little bit more history. So 2013 is when I killed that one.
Yeah.
Started with a smoking hot pile of bear scat on a cold November day.
So it was steamy.
I didn't touch it, but it looked steamy.
Yeah.
And then in 2016 is when I killed a bear in Arkansas, and the next day killed a bear in Oklahoma, all on white oak acorns. And it was the same deal. I mean, it was just like I just found them. I mean, just bam, all of a sudden there was acorns, there was bear scat, there were bear trails, there were bear tracks, and I killed one over water, so there was a small mud hole basically. And man, the bears were just there. And that's exactly what happened this year, is that I had gone up on September the 3rd before I went to Colorado, and I'd put up 3 trail cameras. One of them was over a mud hole, not the same mud hole from 2016, a different one. I call them mud holes because that's really what it is. It's not really a pond. And this one was even smaller than that. This one was about half the size of your car hood.
Yeah.
And
They drink what they drink, though.
they don't care.
Yeah.
So I put up on September 3rd. I put up a camera on actually an old logging road up on the side of the mountain. Totally non-functional road. I mean, it was probably made in the 60s when they logged that mountain. And I find that game travel those old logging roads, and sometimes in the mountains when you're looking for a place to put a trail camera, it's hard to know because it's just vast, and sometimes the topography doesn't narrow things down so much so that you just know within 10 feet where an animal's going to be. But an old road is sometimes good, and I get deer and bear coming down that old road.
Yeah.
And during the rut, if you're trying to hunt deer, you can put cameras over scrapes and stuff, but
Yeah.
this is way early for that.
Yeah.
So I had this camera on an old road, and then I had a camera on this mud hole, which was just a mud hole. Well, I came back for the first time on October the 3rd, and we'll get into that day now. So now we're officially talking about the hunt from this year.
Yeah.
Came back on October the 3rd. I was 150 yards from my truck, and I found some good bear sign on a black gum tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I show it in the video, but there was a black gum, and the bears were just wearing it out. I think it was one bear. It looked like an ice storm damage, where like limbs were all over the ground, and this bear was coming up and down this tree, and there were 8 piles of fresh scat under this black gum.
Yeah.
But it was so close to the road, it made me think maybe it was nighttime activity.
Yeah.
I don't know if it really was, but that's what it made me think. And any other year, I would have just like said, man, this is what I'm looking for, and I would have hunted it. But it was so close to the road, I felt like it could have been nighttime activity. And number two, it was down kind of low in a creek bottom, and I felt like the winds would be swirling. And so I just didn't think I could effectively hunt it. So I said, well, I'm just going to keep going up to where my cameras are. And I went not very far at all, and I found a dugout yellow jacket nest, which this day kind of played out almost scene by scene, just like 2016.
Yeah.
For people that may have watched that video, you know, I found a yellow jacket nest. I started finding bear sign down low, and then, you know, just everything's kind of went on from there. Found a balloon, a littered balloon on the ground.
Come on.
Yeah, and I found another one this year. Anyway, quartered away up the mountain, found a yellow jacket nest. Basically just started seeing bear signs. Started finding some scattered scat all the way in, but not concentrated. And what it seems like is that, like, wherever these bears are really feeding, you'll start seeing sign a long ways from that, but the sign just gets thicker and thicker. So, like, you might see, like, a fresh pile of scat, you know, a half a mile from where those bears really are, and you're like, dang, there was a bear right here yesterday. But you see no other connecting sign. You don't see food. You don't see, you know, 10 pieces of, or, you know, 10 piles of bear scat. So it's kind of this disconnected piece of sign. Well, I just kind of kept moving from there, and then I found on the top of the ridge, I started seeing tons of white oak acorns, and I started seeing tons of bear scat.
Yeah.
I really did. And I knew that I was in the chips, because you don't find that every year.
Yeah.
It had been 2 years since I had seen a bear in National Forest. 2 full years. And I'd hunted hard the last 2 years. So I had that one real good year in 2016 when I killed 2. And then I went 2 years without seeing a single bear, but hunting really hard in National Forest.
Yeah.
And so when I found this, I was like, man, I'm in the chips.
Yeah. I think there's something good inside of that, as far as like using your eyes kind of like your nose. Like if you smell something, you know, you'll like turn that direction, and then as you get closer and closer, it gets stronger and stronger. And I think a lot of times we just find some sign and sit down instead of like pursuing the good sign, you know?
Right.
And so just going to you, like thinking of that way, like if we hear something, we know that if we go closer to it, it'll get louder and louder.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times with our eyes, we just find something and stop instead of like seeking out that thing further and further until we get to the ultimate thing that we're pursuing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly the way it was.
Yeah.
Because I could have got kind of hung up on the sign. I actually had a trail camera down low. Yeah, I didn't say that. You know, I put that trail camera on a little logging trail.
Yeah.
Well, there was a bear on that camera the day before.
Yeah.
And man, I was tempted to just sit there.
Yeah.
'Cause I was like, heck, there was a bear here yesterday. But I just felt like I was gonna find more sign the further up I went, and so I kept going.
Yeah.
And I was glad that I did. Okay, now listen to this. Oh man, I didn't even tell the backstory. We had found James Lawrence's bear that morning.
Yeah.
I drove to Oklahoma. James killed a bear in Oklahoma, which is there's also going to be a video about that. And
Spoiler alert.
I didn't know if I was going to get to hunt that day, and so I drove my daughter's car
Yeah.
for gas mileage sake because I'm hunting about 2.5 hours from where I live, and I didn't know if it was going to take all day with James or if it was going to be real short. Well, we found the bear easily, butchered the bear quickly, and by 9:30 we were handshaking and hugging and see you later, James. He was taking the bear, and I was going my way, and I said, man, I'm going hunting.
Yeah.
And so
You realized your heart was in public lands that day.
it was.
Yeah.
It really was.
It's like, hey, buddy, I had fun. I got to go to my heart in public land.
Exactly. And, I still had a hot bear bait in Arkansas that I could have went to.
Yeah.
I really did. Rivers place.
Yeah.
And but I just didn't. You're right. I just didn't want to. So my knife was still
Fresh.
bloody with the flesh of a bear.
Yeah.
That day when I headed up the mountain.
You had the scent.
That's right. That may have helped me. It
Yeah.
smelled like a bear. Well, so I didn't get to the mountain till like 11 o'clock. And so, I'm kind of moving into midday afternoon. And I had scheduled a meeting with the leadership team of our men's group for our church at noon that day.
Yeah.
I didn't even tell you this.
I've heard about it.
Okay, so we had to have a meeting, and it was going to be by phone, and I think there's 6 men involved in it. And I just said, okay, we're going to do it at noon.
Yeah.
And I knew that I had to get to the top of the mountain before noon to get cell coverage because there's no cell coverage down low.
Yeah.
And so I was hooking it to the top of the mountain all the while
Cardio.
watching this bear sign and stuff. Heck, that's the reason I had to go to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
I really wanted to go there for the bear sign, but I had to go to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Anyway, when I get up there, I start finding all this sign, and I know I've got to make this conference call, and I call the guys, and I'm whispering, and I tell them all, I'm like, guys, hey, I'm in the middle of some smoking hot bear sign, better bear sign than I've found in a long time.
Yeah.
And we talked about the topic at hand, and we had about a 20-minute meeting, and I'm over here whispering, like looking around, hoping I didn't see a bear. But I strategically placed myself on the mountain for that meeting as well, where the wind was blowing my scent off the mountain.
Yeah.
And I was like putting my hand up over, and anyway, that was funny.
Yeah.
And so, and then my good buddy, who I won't name his name, Josh Spillmaker, got mad at me because I didn't text him immediately when I killed the bear. Because when I got off the phone, he was like, "Man, if you kill a bear, text me, call me." And I forgot. I totally forgot to tell him that I killed a bear.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that was a little bit of a rabbit trail.
Yeah. We'll give him a sticker or something.
Yeah, we'll get Josh Spillmaker. If you listen to this and you tell me that you listen to this, this is a good test for Josh.
This is a good test.
This is a good
Yeah,
test.
I like it.
Okay, Josh, if you listen to this podcast, you can collect your Bear Hunting Magazine decals from the Colby, the Bear Tech Moorhead.
Yep.
Okay, just you know how to get in touch with him. Okay, so I'm on top of the mountain,
You're on top of the mountain.
and it's about 1 o'clock now.
Yeah.
I go over to check my trail camera, which is over the mud hole.
I feel like we're using a lot of trail cameras in this one.
Yeah,
So I feel like we should say what's stamped on those trail cameras.
go ahead and tell them.
Cuddy bag.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cuttybacks
Yeah.
and bear boxes.
I mean, if we'd been using another trail camera, we probably would just seen just bear tail ends.
Yeah,
We probably wouldn't have caught the whole bear on the camera.
that's right.
Yeah.
Cuttybacks, man. Mark Cuddyback is a good friend of ours. And
And
they've
a
got
bear hunter.
And he's
And a
Mark's
bear
a big
hunter.
bear hunter.
Yeah.
He loves to bear hunt.
Yeah. That's why we associate ourselves with him.
Yeah, yeah. Mark killed
just kidding.
Mark killed a 53-inch moose in Ontario
Oh, wow.
back in September with his
Wow.
bow.
Right on.
He did. It's not really even a it's a guided hunt, but it's a self-guided hunt. So
Yeah.
anyway, he loves moose hunting too.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so I always use bear boxes in these mountains because bears are super attracted to petroleum products.
Yeah.
They love plastic. I mean, you could go out and put a plastic milk jug on a tree,
Yeah.
ratchet strap it to a tree or zip tie it to a tree, leave it out there, and a bear is going to chew it up.
That's very interesting.
It is. It's crazy. My dad actually used to have an idea that he thought you could bait a bear using plastic. Like literally Like
Yeah.
you can't bait using food related, And he was like, man, I'm because he had a lot of experience trying to stash tree stands, number one, but also trying to stash supplies back in far back places.
Yeah.
When he was wanting to go back in there and camp.
Yeah.
So he had a lot of experience like trying to hide stuff. And you cannot hide anything from a bear. He was burying stuff.
And they still
He
dig
was
it up.
burying water jugs, burying canned goods, and bears would find it
Wow.
and tear it up.
Yeah.
And so anyway, Dad was always like, man, I think you could go to Walmart and buy a toy, buy a beach ball,
Yeah.
and hang it from a tree and set up a stand, and in 2 days you'll kill a bear.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's funny. That's funny.
It's who knows, but they'll find it. So anyway,
Well,
we use bear boxes.
somebody submitted something in the photo contest for the trail cam giveaway they had a minion painted on their their bait barrel.
I
So
saw
maybe
that.
we just need to get a plastic minion
Yes.
and take it out there
Hang
and
it
just
from a
see.
tree. I don't think that would break any laws.
in front of a camera and just see what they do to it.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
We need to do that.
We love testing things around here.
Yeah, we need to do that. So I go to the mud hole
Yeah.
and I pull the cart. Well, first of all, the mud hole is totally dry when I get there.
Mm-hmm.
Bone dry. And I was a little bit disheartened by that because it was hot. It was in the 80s. I mean, I'm covered in sweat,
Yeah.
hot, but there's no water. Well, I checked the camera, and there had been a bear there 2 hours before. I can't remember if it was an hour or 2. I think it was 2 hours before.
Yeah.
And a bear had been there every single day since I left on September the 3rd. It's now October the 3rd. I'm serious. I'm not exaggerating. The 4th, the 5th, the 6th, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, all the way.
Yeah.
And 2 days before, the water hole had dried up. I mean, these bears were drinking water out of a pool of water as big as a dish plate for several days.
Oh, okay.
I mean, they were just coming and just lapping water out of there. And finally it dried up. Well, I guess the bears didn't know that it had dried up and they were still coming over there to check it.
Yeah.
I think that's probably what was happening.
Yeah.
And number two, there were white oak acorns everywhere up on top of this ridge. And so the bears were just there. I think they were just coming down the top of that ridge, and it's like, hey, we'll just walk by the mud hole over there. And they don't wallow like pigs really, but they do like to get down in and get wet, And so I think they were still laying down kind of in the mud even when there wasn't water there. So anyway, needless to say, I'm highly encouraged by the fact that there's been bears in there every day. And there was a bear in there 2 hours before I got there.
So what did you do?
Good question. Man, the wind was out of the north, and so I got on the north side or the south side of the water hole. I had my tree saddle with me.
Yeah.
My tethered tree saddle.
Yeah.
Would have been perfect. That was my plan, was to hang a tree saddle and be able to shoot right to the water. But there's no water. So I didn't know if they were going to actually come to it, like to that exact spot, even though I thought they would be in the general area. You could see probably 50 yards in most directions. And so what I decided to do...
What were you having? Like, what kind of range were you trying to get in within?
Well, I was shooting the traditional bow.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I wanted to be within 15 yards of them.
Yeah.
And so what I decided not to sit in the saddle because I didn't want to be locked down in the tree and a bear not come to the mud hole and be 40 yards away eating acorns and me be up in a tree and not be able to come down.
Yeah, not being able to situate and readjust.
Yeah. So I backed off the water hole 40 yards
Okay.
on the downwind side. And what I did was I actually scratched away the leaves. I took about 4 minutes and kicked the leaves back, making steps towards the water hole for about 15 to 20 yards. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that if a bear did come to the water hole, I could stalk him without making noise.
Yeah.
Because the leaves are super dry.
Yeah. You're very forward thinking.
Forward thinking.
I like it.
Well, I did that the first time when I was 18 years old hunting a hog over bait. One time I did that. I cleared a trail all the way to this little spot I was baiting pigs.
Yeah.
And I'll be darned, the first time I went in there, I walked on my trail about 40 yards, peeked over, big old hog down there, shot him.
Right on.
That's another story, Colby.
And for another time.
So, but I was thinking, if he does come to that water hole and I need to get within range of him, I want to be able to move quietly. So I just scratched the leaves back, just made little little places about as big as a dish plate.
Yeah.
Scratch, where I could just move around. Because, man, I tell you what I have learned is these bears are easy to stalk when they're eating acorns.
Really?
Now, if a bear's got his head up and is walking, I mean, he's going to be pretty aware of what's going on. But, man, if they've got their head down eating acorns, I mean, you could almost walk up to them and slap them in the butt.
Yeah.
I mean, they seem to be pretty singularly focused.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there, wind's hitting me in the face, mud holes in front of me 40 yards.
Okay.
I sit there for 2 hours, and it's now 3 o'clock. I think I got settled in at 1 o'clock. That's what happened. And at 3 o'clock, I hear some brush breaking behind me. I mean, it sounded like a deer coming. I've had people ask me what a bear sounds like. They can be very quiet, but if they're not trying to be sneaky, they make noise, especially in dry leaves.
Yeah.
So I just heard leaves crunching, and turn around, and about 40 yards away, I see a bear kind of up on a little rise from me, and the wind had been hitting me in the face going straight to there, so I thought, this bear's going to smell me.
Yeah.
But just at that moment, the wind was kind of coming out of the west, and so it was starting to hit me in the left side of my face rather than the front of my nose.
Yeah, it was a good swirl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this bear's directly behind me. Well, the other thing, I always do it when I sit on the ground, is I had cleared out a big circle so I could maneuver around and not make noise.
Yeah.
So I'd cleared out just bare dirt in about a 5x5 area where I had my gear, where I could stretch out. And anyway, so
Yeah,
I saw this bear.
I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to do that. I was able to get turned around and watching the bear, didn't make any noise. And he's just gradually moving towards me. And it didn't take him very long. I feel like he was coming to that mud hole.
Yeah.
Because if he had stayed on his trajectory, he would have walked within like 5 yards of me, which I thought that's what he was going to do.
That'd have been something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when he got to within about 12 yards, he saw me. And I believe he started cutting my wind, because the wind was kind of going back between north and west.
Yeah.
And he kind of started to bob his head, and then he looked over and saw me. And he didn't, if it had been a deer, he would have just like sprinted off and snorted.
Yeah.
What he did is he kind of stiff-armed the ground. Like he made one quick little step and kind of stomped the ground a little bit.
Yeah.
And then he just kind of started angling towards me, but getting further away from me. And that trajectory was going to put him at about 13, 14 yards. And by this time, he's looking at me.
Yeah.
And it's kind of an odd thing with bears, but they'll do it, especially if they don't directly have your scent. I think if he would have directly smelled me, he would have just turned around and just left.
Yeah.
But he was just kind of getting a little bit of wind, and he saw me, and he was going away from me. But basically, he just stepped out there 13 yards. It looked to me like it was just an average boar.
Yeah.
But boy, in National Forest, I'm not selective.
Yeah.
Really not. I'm just not there yet. There may come a day when I'm selective in National Forest, but it's not 2019.
That's what baiting's for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was like, I'm going to take this bear if it gives me an opportunity. And 13 yards broadside, draw back, and I mean, just 10 ringed him.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't have put the arrow I put it right where I wanted to put it.
Yeah.
And man, every time you do that with a traditional bow, you feel so fortunate.
Yeah.
You really do. I mean, you practice and you can do that, but when you do it on a live animal, it's just like you're just like, good. You just such a satisfying feeling to get a good shot. I knew the bear was done, but he ran out of sight and he did not death moan.
Yeah.
I have found that probably 20% of the bears that I've killed have death moaned.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask about that because a lot of people think that every bear that dies death moans, but that is not true. Even though some people have skewed stats, like some guys are like, man, every bear I've ever killed did that. Well,
it's the genetics.
I don't know.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. I don't know. Some do, some don't.
Yeah.
This bear didn't. And he ran about 50 yards and died, but it was out of sight of me, so I didn't know for sure.
Yeah.
My arrow passed all the way through him and stuck in a sapling. It's cool. You have to see the video and the pictures. But it just 10-ringed a sapling about as big around as your thumb.
Yeah.
And buried up almost to the insert after passing through that bear.
Wow, that must be a good broadhead.
It is a good broadhead. Thank you for teeing me up. No, I was shooting at a Day 6 Evo 150 grain.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Day 6 broadheads. I like them.
Yeah.
I like them. It's a cut on impact, real high grade steel. It holds its sharpness really well. They fly really well. They're kind of a short ferruled head. So it's a 2-blade with
little kickers,
little bleeders.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
they look really nice.
That's what River killed her big bear with.
Yeah.
You got a total pass through with her, 45-pound bow on a 300+ pound bear.
That's impressive.
Total pass through.
Yeah.
And then I got a pass through
with a sapling.
Yep, and then
that's a double pass through.
a double pass through. Just about.
No, I'm just kidding.
So anyway, I recovered the bear, and I had cell coverage up there.
Yeah.
And it's now 3:00, but I'm at minimum. I'm a long ways from the truck. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
And I knew I wasn't going to get that bear out by myself, and so I called you.
Yep.
And you were here at the global headquarters.
Yep.
And I had taken my daughter's car, as I said before. So my truck was at the global headquarters with the mule trailer already attached.
Yeah.
And I'd been texting you. Didn't I text you and tell you I was in
the chips?
Yeah, that's probably what I said, word for word. I'm in the chips. Well, I finally called Colby and just I said, man, I killed a bear. And I said, get in my truck. Load up Izzy.
Yeah.
Get in my truck and drive down here because I got to have Izzy.
Yeah.
And it was just great that it was a weekday and that you were here and that you were able to do that because I would have been in trouble.
Yeah, you've been sweating it out.
Yeah, I could have got the bear out of there, but it just would have been a lot harder.
Yeah.
And it was the perfect time because it takes about 2.5 hours or so to get there. And I knew it would take me that long to skin and quarter the bear and to get back to my truck. And so, it worked perfect. I called my dad, and Dad came out and met me at my truck, and he brought me a flashlight, a big flashlight, because I really wasn't prepared to hunt. I usually carry my good coon light with me, even when I'm going back in the mountains, a smaller coon light. And I didn't have it, and so I called Dad, and he knew I was probably going to be coming out of there in the dark, and so he said, well, I'll meet you out there and bring you a light.
Yeah.
It was cool he came. I think he really wanted to just be a part of it, So I skinned the bear, quartered the bear, hung the hide up on a log so it kind of stay cool, even though it was quite warm.
Yeah.
The air temperature. And man, I hadn't been at my truck 10 minutes when you pulled up with Izzy. This is perfect timing.
Yeah.
And by the time I got her saddled up, I calculated I had 45 minutes to an hour before dark. Is that about right?
Probably so, yeah. It was starting to get a little dusky.
Yeah. And that's about how long I knew it would take me to get back up there on riding Izzy. I'd already walked up on foot and come down on foot. And so anyway, I was pretty tired or, just a little fatigued. But anyway, I was able to ride her back up in there and carried a paniard with me. So I have just a regular saddle, but I used James Lawrence's old canvas panniard that I was able to carry up with me, and then it drapes over the saddle.
Yeah.
It has these big, huge bags on either side, so I couldn't ride her back down, but I was able to put the meat and hide on her, which she did good. She had carried River's bear out a couple of days before, and had thrown a little bit of a fit, got a little snorty, didn't like it.
Yeah.
Ace didn't mind the bear at all.
Yeah.
So Ace is Colby's mule, and Ace was just kind of like, whatever, man. I'm just ready to go back and eat some hay back home.
Yeah, he's the old man.
He's the old man. Yeah. But Izzy was a little snorty, but we got the bear hide on her. Well, this is 3 days later, I guess. 3 days after River's bear, I think. Or maybe 4 days.
It was really close.
Well, Izzy had no problem with me putting the meat on her, which a lot of horses and mules don't want you
to smell it all.
It's the smell of blood and flesh.
Yeah.
So she was cool with me putting the meat in, but when I started walking over there with that big old ball of bear hide,
yeah,
she got snorty. But it didn't take much, a little convincing, and I got it on her.
Yeah. Well, we've been working with her too.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just like going up and seeing if we could throw one on her.
Yeah, it's the visual aspect of the hide
Yeah.
that she doesn't like. And then up in Montana when you were with me,
Yeah.
I thought she was going to hurt herself.
She was pretty wild.
She was worked up about that bear hide.
Yeah.
And, I think a lot of guys would have just given up on her at that point.
Yeah. Or pressed her too hard.
Well, yeah, and really messed it up.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't take no for an answer that Izzy wasn't going to carry a bear hide.
Yeah.
And so on the way back from Montana, I put the fresh hide up in the horse trailer with her. She rode for 6 hours with a fresh bear hide right in her nose.
Yeah. And when she was already sniffing it a little bit on the
way down.
Yeah.
Yep, on Smokey. So, yeah, we'd been training her, and even the week before bear season in Arkansas, I took some of my hides from down here and left them out on the fence. And though it didn't smell like a bear because it was a tanned, clean hide,
Yeah.
she was still afraid of it. It was that visual aspect.
Yeah.
And so I fed her around that hide, like a tanned hide. And anyway, we worked with her quite a bit. So I was really pleased to get the bear hide on her and came off the mountain.
Yeah.
And, man, I ground that bear up, cut some bear steaks, cut some ossobuco out of the shanks.
Yeah.
I just used a hand saw, which is a ton of work.
Yeah.
It really was more work. I need a...
My saw ended up being right here in my desk.
No way.
Yeah, I found it yesterday.
Your bone saw.
My bone saw.
Dang. Well, thanks for that now, Colby. So I cut the shanks into ossobuco. I cut some good bear steaks out of the back straps, and the rest I ground.
Yeah.
And we ate some of it fresh, so it never froze. Made some. We like to make. We call them ranch bean nachos.
Yeah.
But where you take ground meat, you brown meat, whether it's deer, bear, or whatever. You brown meat, put in taco seasoning. While you're browning the meat, you also put in peppers and onions, like a frozen mix of peppers and onions.
Yeah.
And then put in a can of ranch beans.
Oh, okay.
And with the taco seasoning.
Yeah.
Oh, it's super easy and super good. So we that like 2 days later, we had some fresh bear meat. Which was good.
Pleases even the pickiest of eaters, I'm sure.
It really did.
Yeah.
But my kids, I'm famous around this little tract of land right here for ranch bean nachos. Wild game ranch bean nachos.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was the hunt, man.
Yeah.
And for me, I'd rather kill a bear like that than a Kodiak brown bear. I said that on the video, and I mean it. I really do. I mean, I got a brown bear hanging right there on the wall, and I am eternally grateful for that brown bear, and always will be. But I'll treasure this average black bear more than that in terms of personal hunting goals.
Yeah.
And that's just the truth. Not to devalue a brown bear, because he was a majestic beast too.
Yeah.
But on a personal level. But yeah. What are your thoughts, Colby? Or what questions would people, or I don't know, what unanswered questions have we What unanswered things have we not talked about?
Well, I think people would probably ask about the saddle, the original, like, idea, like what your setup's like, because that's something that I don't think I've seen a lot of bear hunters do. I mean, it's something that's kind of going inside of like a whitetail scenario, but you know, saddles have been around for a long time, but I think they're just now kind of coming back into style, or popularity. So, and I know it's a new system. So, what are your thoughts on the saddle?
Yeah, I really like the saddle. I've got the tethered Mantis with their with Tethered's little platform, their little cast metal platform.
Yeah,
and I was carrying three muddy sticks.
Yeah.
So it's because I wasn't planning on needing to get up 20 feet. I was hoping to get up 10 feet.
Yeah.
Just to get up above, kind of just eyesight and
maybe get some wind further
get some
out.
wind in my favor.
Yeah.
Really like it for that kind of hunting because it's such a light setup, easy setup.
More of a run and gun.
Total run and
thing,
gun, which is great for that kind of hunting. Because if there had been water in that water hole, that's probably what I would have done. If I'd have known there will be a bear right there. That's what I would have just climbed up a little bitty tree that I couldn't have even put a stand. There weren't big trees around this water hole.
Yeah.
The tree that I had picked out was about 8 inches in diameter, which would have been difficult to put just about any kind of tree stand in. And, it would have been a small tree, but if I was only up 8 or 10 feet, it's probably bigger than what I said. It's probably a 12-inch tree at the base,
Yeah.
And but that was, I think it's a great setup. The other thing, we were going to try to talk about some gear because the video, I intentionally didn't put any gear stuff or any product promotion stuff in our video.
Yeah. I think a lot of people would have questions about wearing the merino wool inside of warmer temperatures and why to do that.
Well, I'll talk about the clothing I had on.
Yeah.
I had on First Light Sawbuck pants.
Yeah.
Golly, Colby, I just wore those for 6 days straight.
Yeah.
And only took them off at night when I was sleeping.
Yeah. Are those the brush pants?
Yeah, they're the brush pants. Man.
Yeah. The briar britches.
Briar britches. Yeah. I think that may go down as First Light's
greatest creation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a throwback to something old, but they're doing it different than any other briar pant I've ever had. All the briar britches I have are not comfortable.
Yeah,
I enjoy wearing them because they protect you from briars. And not just briars. They you kind of feel like you're just wearing a little bit of armor. Like riding mules. Yeah. Where we were just at in New Mexico. Man, your knees are constantly hitting stuff, scratching on stuff. Man, they're perfect. Well, I was wearing the Sawbuck pants on this day, and the reason they're different than everything else is that they've got this athletic, lightweight, fast-drying synthetic material that is the back and butt and crotch and back of the pants. It's their corrugate guide pant.
Yeah, so it breathes well.
Breathes very well, very light, very comfortable. And then the front is this brush pant, which is kind of just a thicker, but not hot. They're not hot. That's why a couple people ask me, are they hot? No, I wouldn't call them hot at all.
Yeah.
It was very warm that day, and I was wearing a merino wool just T-shirt, First Light T-shirt. That's all I had on.
Yeah.
I was wearing a crew top T-shirt. Didn't have any face camo or anything else. Yeah. Wearing a little merino wool hat. But that, you can see in the picture when I came off the mountain after dark, I took a picture with me and Izzy with a hide over her. I think it's on social media. I'm covered in sweat. Izzy's covered in sweat too.
Yeah.
And that merino wool just dries out so quick.
Yeah.
If that had been cotton, I would have been miserable all the way home. Because, right after I took that picture, I jumped in my truck and drove home. Well, that stuff dries out quick. It really does.
That was one of the things I found in Utah in that cold weather, because whenever we got out and really hoofed it up the mountain through the snow, like I just got to sweating, I went from cold to just like hot and sweating, but I never got really cold again, even whenever I was, just soaking wet.
Yeah.
And even on like the ride back to camp on the side by side, it was like I wasn't freezing, and then I was like, man, I need to go change my clothes. And by the time I finally got around to doing it, it was already dry.
Yeah,
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel like wet. It's almost like it pulled it away from my skin.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. The other gear related issue, we already talked about the broadhead, but I always have a lot of people ask me about my traditional bow setup.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting a Timber Ghost G3 SS.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it's called. Timber Ghost is the brand. It's made by Bowyer here in Northwest Arkansas. A friend of ours named Kent Roberts.
Yeah.
So that G3 SS is G3 stands for Generation 3 Super Static.
Yeah.
Because it has super static limbs. Has these ultra recurved limbs. They call that a static limb. Means a recurved limb.
Yeah.
Super static means that it's got these super radical hooks, which it has as radical of hooks as just about any bow on the market.
Yeah.
And those radical hooks make that bow literally one of the fastest recurve bows made.
Yeah, it seems really fast whenever you shoot it compared to other recurves I've seen.
Well, it's not
or stick bows.
Too big of a deal to get that bow shooting over 200 feet per second with a 500 plus grain arrow, which is fast for a recurve.
Yeah, fast, and it got some momentum with the heavy arrows.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm shooting that Timber Ghost G3 SS. It's a takedown bow. This is a 3-piece bow.
Yeah.
Which just this week I was hunting in New Mexico on mules, and I had that thing broken down in a little case that's about 20 inches long.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very, very
portable.
Very portable. You can build that bow in about 3 minutes, probably, maybe even less. And on this hunt, I had it fully strung the whole time. But a lot of times I don't. If I'm riding on a mule, I'll break it down and put it in a saddlebag.
Yeah.
And I'm pulling 52 pounds at 28 inches. I probably pull 27 inches, so I'm probably pulling about 50 pounds.
Yeah.
I'm shooting the Day 6 arrows, 400 spine. Those arrows are going to be weighing in the 550 range.
Yeah.
And it's a good setup. I like it.
Yeah.
It
doesn't seem to really twist at all or anything when you pull all the way back either. Like
what do you mean?
The limbs, like they don't seem to like tweak. It just seems like it just pulls straight back. It just seems sturdy.
Yeah, those limbs are really stable. That's been some other super static limbs are unstable, meaning that you shoot them 300 or 400 times and they break.
Yeah.
I've shot this bow for years and it is it's still strong. And Kent's had good luck with his limbs. So that's my bow setup. I shoot 3 fingers under. I shoot just a standard glove. I have been influenced by some of the trad guys right now that are making a lot of headway. Who am I thinking of? Tom Clum.
Yeah.
And Joel Turner. I've taken none of their classes, but just kind of the backwash of their philosophies have influenced me in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm trying to hold my anchor longer. I'm trying to that's probably the main thing that I'm doing. We could nerd out about trad archery, but those are good guys. The guys that Push Archery, their podcast is really good too. But I'm kind of a snap shooter, which those guys don't like. My goal has been to get within 15 yards of game and kill game inside of 15 yards. And you can snap shoot effectively if those are your goals.
Yeah.
Now, if you're trying to kill game at 25 and 30 yards, some of the Olympic style shooting that they're doing is highly beneficial.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff. And but anyway, I'm kind of a snap shooter. I'm not a gap shooter at all. For all the consciousness that I have, I believe that I'm shooting instinctively. I mean, Colby, I don't know if you know it, but a lot of guys draw the bow and use the tip of the arrow to aim, and it's called gap shooting.
Yeah.
And it's a very effective way to shoot.
Yeah.
I don't do that. I'm just shooting like I'm throwing a baseball. And I'm confident out to 20 yards.
Yeah.
And I've killed game. I killed a deer 2 years ago at 24 yards. I guess that's the longest. And I shot a bear in Saskatchewan, a second shot at about 25 yards.
Yeah.
But mostly my range is I want them inside of 15.
Yeah.
And I just feel real confident at
Yeah.
that range. So that's my bow setup. We talked about broadheads. We talked about arrows. We talked about the tree saddle. We talked about the First Light gear.
Yeah. Talked about the game camera.
Talked about the game camera. I filmed this whole hunt. Somebody might be interested in how I did that. You know, I carry a little, what kind of tripod is that? Look at that tripod, Colby. It's, what brand is that? That's a good tripod for solo.
Vanguard.
Yeah, it's a little Vanguard Alta 233A0 tripod. And it's big enough that, you know it if you got it, but it's good enough that it's still a good tripod. I carry that thing with me everywhere I go.
Yeah, it's been used on every video.
Every video I've ever made, that tripod made it.
Yeah.
And I had it up there.
Packed it on the mules in Montana.
It's had the heck beat out of it.
Actually, I think there might be a video of me running with it in Montana.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? This isn't the original one.
Oh, it's not?
My friend, who will remain nameless, but he knows who he is, Forrest, left my tripod underneath a lime tree in Idaho in
really?
2016, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We got back to the truck after walking 2 hours straight up the mountain, 2 hours after dark. And I was like, hey, man, where's the tripod? And he was like, I thought you had it. And I was like, no, you had it. Yeah. So this is version 2 of that tripod.
Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast, we'll give you a sticker too.
Okay, this is a test. Forrest, you know who you are. We will send you a sticker if you claim it. I give him a hard time and have for years about that tripod. He knows I'm just kidding him.
Yeah.
But so I was using a Canon G30 camera.
Yeah.
When I'm self-filming, that's what I use because it's so small, such a good camera, wide-angle lens, beautiful color. It's a great all-around camera.
Yeah.
Very versatile. Man, I beat the tar out of that camera. Colby, one time I left that camera on the hood of my truck in Saskatchewan overnight when it poured down rain.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't heard that story
Yeah.
yet.
Our G30.
Yeah.
I left it on the hood of my truck and just went to sleep and just forgot it out there.
Yeah.
It rained that night.
Yeah.
Woke up and I see the camera on the hood and I'm like, dang, that camera is going to be toast.
Yeah.
Flip it open, turn it on, fires up. Has never missed a beat since then.
Yeah. It lived in the saddlebag on Old Smoky in Montana too.
Yeah.
It took a whooping.
Yeah. It's a heck of a camera.
Yeah.
Very versatile, very tough. So I was using that one, and I had it positioned such that I was in front of the camera. I wanted to capture me drawing the bow, and it's like I was like, if I kill a bear, I'm going to be in front of the camera, which is harder. You see me in the video once turn back and look to make sure the bear's in the frame.
Yeah.
It's much easier to have the camera in front of you and shoot from behind the camera.
Yeah.
But it's less. You don't see. It's not as cool of an image. So these are the things I'm thinking about as a filmmaker. It's like I'm gonna get in front of that camera.
Yeah. And then if you were up in the tree, you have a different arm, right?
Yeah, I've got a
arrow.
fourth arrow camera arm that I use up in the tree, which I really like. I need to get their new one.
Yeah, that thing's sturdy.
Yeah.
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 I almost feel like you could hang off of it. Just
Yeah, you probably could.
yeah.
You probably could.
And then the GoPro.
Yeah, I didn't even have it up there that day.
Oh, you didn't?
Oh, didn't even use it.
Yeah.
So, but the other cameras that I use for more cinematic stuff or more intentional stuff, this kind of film is like all self-filming, so I was just using the G30, but I've got a Sony 700R and I've got a Canon 5D DSLR Mark III.
Yeah.
For anybody that's interested, they might know that. But I take all my pictures with a Canon 5D Mark III. And but a lot of our slow-mo stuff is from that Sony 700R.
Yeah.
But Colby,
Yep.
I'm thinking about selling every one of those.
Yeah.
Did you know that? You didn't.
Well, there's been some toss around of different technology updates.
I think I know what I want to do now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. I haven't heard this.
So
part.
anyway, if you're interested in buying any of these cameras from me, just forget about the story about that one being left on the hood in a rainstorm.
What are you talking about? It's tried and true. It's weatherproof.
Yeah, it works just fine. Man.
Yeah, you can send it through the car wash.
Yeah, yeah, man. Well,
Hood.
no, I think I'm gonna get maybe a different setup, but
Yeah.
no. So I was carrying a Kifaru pack too.
Yeah.
I
That's
got
a new addition.
Kifaru Shape Charge pack with a little add-on pack on the back, and a super tough pack. A great zipper. I mean, just like you couldn't get any higher quality than that pack. You know.
Yeah.
I wish it was a little bit bigger, and I just got. It's not the pack's fault that it's small. I mean, that it's just kind of a day pack.
Yeah.
But when I'm carrying my camera gear, I probably need to get from them a little bit bigger pack.
Yeah.
But the pack is super comfortable. I like everything about it. I just need it to be about a cubic foot bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're carrying gear, you're carrying a lot of extra stuff that most people don't. So it's not really.
Yeah, when
like
you're
it's just-
filming. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do always carry my Garmin InReach.
Yeah.
I had it with me the whole time. Part of that hunt, I'm in cell range, but part of it I'm not. And so I've got to where I carry that almost with me everywhere. I used to not carry any of that stuff. You know, it's just kind of like, but if you've got it, you might as well carry it.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to be able to communicate too. And whenever you send a message, it'll send your location too. So if you needed help getting something out, and
I could have called in the chopper, man.
yeah, the SOS.
I hit the SOS button.
Yeah.
Been like, got to bear down. Send in the chopper.
Yeah. I bet Garmin would have loved that.
Well, they would have sent it. They would
Yeah.
just charge me about $30,000 probably. Yeah, we could have airlifted that bear out. Well, hey, that's our story.
Yeah.
So check out the Bear Hunting Magazine YouTube channel, and you'll see a video titled "Sheep Hunt of the South." I love the video. To me, it's one of my. I mean, I always think. I mean, you always like a video that that you're making, but it's a good video.
Yeah.
It's got some good action in it. And,
Yeah.
shows all the sign. I think somebody could watch it and probably learn something, but also it shows a great traditional archery kill from the ground, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, and then in the newest issue of the magazine, you have a lot of photos of the bear sign that you saw, and
Yeah, yeah.
that's
So
some
in
good
the
stuff.
November-December issue of Bear Hunting Magazine, there's an article titled "The Best Bear Sign for
Yeah.
Hunting the Eastern Deciduous Forest," and all those pictures came from that hunt
Yeah.
and a scouting trip. Well, when I was up there on September the 3rd.
Yeah.
So if you get Bear Hunting Magazine, which you should, every stinking one of you should subscribe to Bear Hunting Magazine.
Yeah.
Do us a favor.
Yeah.
But if you read that, if you see that article, you'll know, hey, Clay took those pictures on September 3rd and October 3rd because
Yeah.
that's when I was up there, and then that's when I came back.
Yeah, and it seems like a pretty complete capture of bear sign. It's
Yeah.
like you had some rolled stuff, you had yellow jacket nest, and then just scat
For here,
Yeah,
the
for
Eastern,
here, yeah.
I mean, like in different parts of the Eastern Deciduous Forest, there's other types of food. Like there's beech nuts. There's, I didn't get any pictures of. I didn't get pictures of all the food, but just in terms of sign, scat, rolled rocks, rolled logs, dug up places. I'm considering that sign.
Yeah.
But boy, the best sign anywhere is scat because you can
Yeah.
get a timestamp on it.
Yeah.
That's the one sign that you can really get a very good timestamp.
Yeah.
And because a track is, you can get a timestamp, but not a great timestamp.
Yeah.
A rolled log is not much of a timestamp at all.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, that's where your inner child comes out. You get to poke at it with a stick.
yeah, yeah, you do. You got to. Got to see how fresh it is.
You got to be thorough.
See how fresh it is. Well, man, that's what I've got. And hey, thanks for checking out Bear Hunting Magazine podcast. I believe the next podcast is probably going to be about our New Mexico hunt
Yeah.
with Straight Cedillo, and really
With the
awesome
hounds.
hunt,
Yeah.
hound hunt on mules. But Closing thoughts, Colby?
I don't think so. I think we covered
Check
a lot.
out the Flashy Hat series
Yeah.
at bear-hunting.com.
Give us some feedback.
Yeah, we got 3 very unique, different hat styles that I think people are going to like.
Some really cool colors inside of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's cool.
We might branch out into some other things maybe with it. Just some cool designs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So check that out and keep the wild places wild because that's where the bears live.
Hey everybody, listen up. I got mega huge news. Meat Eater Live is heading back out on the road. That's right. Join me and the crew. Clay Newcomb, Cal, Yanni, Spencer's going to be there. Phil the engineer's going to be there. Meat Eater Live headed back out. Now, when you get every ticket, okay? Every ticket you buy, you get a signed copy of our new Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook. This tour is celebrating the release of the book. Buy a ticket, get a signed copy, Meat Eater Outdoor Cookbook, wild game recipes for the grill, smoker, camp stove, and campfire, which I'll point out is a $38 value. Here's where we're going to go. April 23rd, the Mesa Arts Center in Mesa, Arizona. April 24, the Balboa Theater in San Diego. April 25, the Grove in Anaheim, California. April 27, the Crest Theater in Sacramento. April 29, the Union in Salt Lake City. April 30, the Egyptian in Boise. May 1, the Wilma Theater in Missoula. May 2, the Bing Crosby Theater in Spokane, Washington. May 4, Revolution Hall in Portland, Oregon. And May 5, the last day of the tour, Pantages Theater in Tacoma, Washington. For tickets and more information, visit the events page at themeateater.com. Hope to see you at the show.